What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you coming back. It's another Thursday. It's time for more Sideline to Sideline. You already know who I am. I'm from the Integrity Sports Network, chomping at the bit. As these guys say, the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. What's up? Right here to my right, well, my left, depending on how you're watching it, got Brett, not guarding the two. He's guarding the three. What's going on, Brett? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm a little nervous this week. Packers are going to Seattle, which it's always a house of horrors playing in Seattle, but we'll make it through with the win. I'm confident.
Okay. I mean, you got to be confident in your team, right? We know the 12th man and all that, but your team's playing well. I'm sure they got this. Right here below me, got THWE taking it deep, birds deep. Godfrey, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up? I'm still creeped out by Brett's mustache. I feel like I'm going to go into a time warp to wrestle in the 80s. I feel like Barry Windham and Ric Flair are going to walk out and they're going to form the Four Horsemen. I love it. It looks good on you, actually. All things aside, the mustache wears well on you. For me, it wouldn't look good, personally.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. And then, I mean, he's the man who carries the show, brings that energy, keeps us all on topic. Got the genius, the NFL genius. Gene, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's poppin', y'all? I'm fired up this week. We're gonna talk a lot of sports, but look, you said something earlier. Why can't you be confident when you're watching your team? I am not confident in watching my football team. And they won 9 straight games. I'm not confident. And we're gonna get into that. We're gonna start with that this week. Just finished the conversation over at Birds Deep. If you want a full breakdown of the Philadelphia Eagles, you can get that. This is not going to be a full Eagles. But the biggest national story this week has been Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. It was on Pat McAfee, the Brandon Graham comments talking about it. And I am really at this I'm at this spot in my life right now where I am so frustrated watching grown men not be able to get along in this situation. And I also think that I'm maybe on another planet, right? Because I just got off a show where Godfrey and Cool both explained to me how it wasn't what my eyes were seeing. Now, Cool was a little bit more adamant than Godfrey was. Godfrey was kind of riding the rail, being the middle ground guy. But I want to be clear when I say this. I think that there's a huge personal problem between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. I don't think it's a problem that can be fixed. I think it's so personal that there's issues that are off the football field, and I think there's a real issue. Body language tells me everything I need to see. After a tough drive, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith were sitting on the bench, and Jalen Hurts was with Calcaterra and the offensive line. It looks very reminiscent of last year with the issues between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And when A.J. Brown was asked about what the problem was with the offense, he said, passing. He didn't say the offensive scheme. He didn't say protection. He didn't say the play calling. He said passing was the problem. So before we go any further with that, I got to introduce somebody. It's been such a long time since I've been able to have a conversation with my man Chase on a podcast, but he's here. He's in the studio. He is wired up. Sister CR Media himself. Chase, how you feeling? Chase, how you feeling?
I apologize, gentlemen. My speakers are a little on the fritz. Give me just a couple minutes here.
All right. Well, I'll continue speeding up. You hop in when you want to hop in, but I'll make this very clear. There's a problem in Philadelphia, and right now it's a Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown problem. If you watch that football game, it looked like Jalen Hurts was almost intentionally not throwing the football to A.J. Brown. That's a problem to me. That's a problem. Plays that were designed to go to A.J. Brown did not go to him. Now, Kyle, Guardy 3. I heard Godfrey's take. If you want to hear our full takes, listen to Birds Deep. I heard his take. We'll hear it again in a minute. I'll ask you this, Kyle. Is it a Jalen problem? Is it an AJ problem? Is it an off-the-field problem? Or are we making more of it than we need to be?
I mean, that's where it's tricky because you're dealing with your quarterback, star wide receiver. Yes, if you look at the numbers, like they're number 1 in rushing, 31st in passing. And we know how these wide receivers are. Like they are big on their numbers. They want their touchdowns. They want all that. You would like to think that because they're winning, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But I can see where, as a fan watching it, why you'd be worried by it. Because that's the kind of thing that can derail the momentum of a team. And you have to worry about when things start to go south, or like in a big playoff game, will that disconnect between the two of them cost the Eagles a big game? I would like to think it's not a big deal because winning is supposed to heal all. But when you're dealing with a guy like A.J. Brown, where this has kind of been a thing before in the past with him, I can see why you're worried. And look, the offense is the offense, right? There's a reason why Saquon Barkley's in MVP discussions. Like, he's having a great season. So it's not really on the offense to now cater to A.J. Brown because his feelings are hurt. You also want A.J. Brown to kind of be a pro. The team's winning. You're in a fight for the number 1 seed, and you're pulling this. Why? Because your numbers are down a little bit? Like, you got to think about doing the greater good for the team. Like, if this leads to another Super Bowl.
I don't think, and guys, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the only one on Lonely Island. I don't think that A.J. Brown is having an issue because his numbers are down. I think A.J. Brown is having an issue because there's plays that are called for him. He's open, and the ball is not being thrown in. Let me kind of spill it to you a different way, right? Kyle, let's just say this, right? Me and you are on the come up in the podcast industry. And we're family, man. We're friends. We've been working together for years. You're the godfather of my child. And we start making it, right? We're doing well. And we have an issue, a personal issue, outside of podcasting, outside of sports. Me and you have an issue, Kyle. There's a problem personally. And there's segments I'm supposed to go to you and like highlight you and show you like, hey, let's go over to Kyle. Let's get his opinion. And I just skip them. I just, Guardy 3, what do you think? And every time you start talking, I'm like, Godfrey, give me your take. Give me your, and I kind of cut you off, right? And the podcast numbers are fine, right? We're still beating the competition. We're still winning, but you're in this scenario in which you're being overlooked because of personal issues that are happening off the field. That's where I think this is. Yo, Carton, listen, I don't like Carton from New York. I don't. If you don't know who Carton is, he's a national guy. But last year, he said...
I believe if you look at him up in dictionary, fraud is next to his name.
Hold on. Last year, he said there's issues with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown that are deeper than football and that he will not get into them because of respect for the two men. That there's real issues outside of football. He said it again this year. He's like, I know the issues. I can't talk about it on air, but there's personal issues between these two. I don't care. Look, they beat the Carolina Panthers. They look terrible. If they're winning and Jalen, like the place called to A.J. Brown and he misses the throw, like the Washington game, perfect example. Jalen missed a lot of throws to A.J. Brown in that game, but it wasn't like they went from that game and were like, oh, this is terrible. They went from that game and they played better the next game because the targets that were thrown to him were on plays that were called for him. I think there's a personal issue. Am I nuts? Am I nuts to think that? God, Guardy 3, help me out. Am I crazy?
And I don't think you're nuts for thinking that, because that's kind of what Brandon Graham was seemingly just insinuating, that there was a problem. Obviously, he walked it back and deleted it, but it's starting to make you think that there is a personal problem. Like Jalen, I can understand why AJ Brown's upset. I think he does need to conduct himself at times in a more professional manner, but at the same time, I am also watching him get one-on-ones with the safety shaded way to the left, and instead Jalen Hurts' choice is instead overthrow 6'4" Johnny Wilson on to the middle.
6'6".
Sorry, yeah, 6'6".
It's the truth.
But I think, yeah, I could absolutely see it. I think Brandon Graham, walked it back because he kind of had to. But at this point, I think it's clear that there's an issue. Too often, I noticed during the Panther game where A.J. Brown would get open and Jalen Hurts is looking anywhere but A.J. half the time. So I do agree. I do think that there is I don't know them personally, obviously, but everything indicates that it seems that there is an issue between the two, and it's got to get solved.
So I want to read both comments, and I want to go to Chase. I really want to hear Chase's opinion on this. Chase, can you hear us yet? Are you good speaker-wise?
I can. I can. I'm good, guys.
Perfect.
I apologize.
So Jory's correct. Bryce Young outplayed Jalen for a good part of that game. I agree. So Craig Carton said there's a personal issue, and the only way this issue is going to get solved is if they put boxing gloves on in the locker room and handle it like men, and then try to walk away from it. He said it's that deep of an issue. But I want to read the Brandon Graham exact comments because I read this on, and I want you to understand the comments because there's a lot to read into in these comments, right? There's a lot to read into. All right. So here's the exact comments. I'm going to go right to you, Chase. The person, AJ Brown, that's complaining needs to be accountable. And I'm just being honest. You know what I'm saying? And like he knows this. I don't know the whole story, but I know one is trying. And I mean, 11 could be better with how he responds to things. 11's AJ Brown, 1 is Jalen Hurts. And they were friends before this, but things have changed. I understand that because life happens. But it's the business side that we have to make sure we don't let the personal get in the way of business. And that's what we got to do better right now because we know it's an issue. Everybody's seeing some things, but we need to be able to talk things out as men. You know what I'm saying? But we need to let the personal stuff go. And let's get right for this game because it's a lot of stuff. Most of the time, it's just a conversation that needs to be had. But the person with the problem gotta want to talk to the person other than others.
I mean,
that's crazy comments.
If I hear that, if I look at AJ Brown, I look at Jalen Hurts. I feel like that's obviously he's talking about AJ Brown. Like Jalen Hurts doesn't seem like the type who would take personal stuff and make it like a big issue. Like Jalen Hurts seems like if you got a problem with me, I got a problem with you, but we on the field, I'm gonna do what I got to do to the best of my ability to try to get a win. Since we've seen AJ Brown kind of be involved with this at multiple stops now, it seems like it's all on his side on whether or not he wants to address it or what. And if it's this big of a problem, then Philly has to do something about this. Because we're not going to sit here and go year in.
And they both signed extensions, Kyle. They're not doing anything about it.
But now we got to go in and year out, wondering how those two are on a given week. Wonder if it's gonna boil over and all this kind of stuff. Like that. That seems like a lot to deal with as a.
What could it be?
Were the teammates and all that? Like that's a lot.
Bro, what if AJ slept with Jalen's wife?
I was just gonna say, were they at a swingers party and someone broke the rules?
Bro, but I'm not trying to be that guy. What if AJ slid into her DMs? And like I know that sounds stupid.
If it's that deep, I don't care how much you signed for. Like you gotta go, bro.
Correct, and that's my point. I think there's Chase. When you hear those comments, do you not think that there's something going on that's just deeper than football?
No, I do and I don't. I mean, I'll ask both of you guys this. Let's rewind back to 2004. Does this not sound familiar, Gene? Does this not sound familiar, Godfrey?
I love that you brought that up.
You've got a prima donna wide receiver, very talented, not taking anything away from him in the locker room, who is pointing fingers at other people, and you've got a quarterback who is doing his best with what he has. And
yeah,
maybe his best isn't enough, but he's doing what he can.
See, I think the issue with
Brandon Graham has always struck me as a no bullshit type of guy. And AJ Brown has made it very clear within the media and with everywhere else that he is unhappy in the confines of the Philadelphia Eagles with whatever's going on. No matter if it's coaching, no matter if it's personnel, schemes, whatever the case may be, AJ Brown is upset about something.
You said Brandon Graham's not a BS type of guy.
I feel like Brandon. Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like that was Brandon's way without straight up telling AJ Brown, like, yo, get your stuff together or get out. That was AJ Brown's way, Brandon Graham's way of saying, like, yo, shape up, kid. Like, let's go. Like, get it over with. Like, go man up and go talk to Hurts and squash this, because it's not going to go anywhere with you standing there in front of a bunch of reporters calling out the team. Yeah. That's what it sounds like to me.
Listen, I'm AJ Brown's a 27-year-old man and he's young. So is Jalen Hurts. I've seen men that are older want to fight over softball. Okay. And Jesus,
I heard that.
So my thing is like this, man. You bring up 04. I bring up when the Wentz saga started. I was Team Wentz from the beginning. And then I changed my mind as stuff started to come out. People, like, the offensive line defended him. They all defended him. And then it was like, well, he's really not a good teammate. Then I'm like, well, what's this? Is this true? Is that true? And then it was just, people were whispering about him and they were leaking stuff. And then I was like, no, that's our 11's our franchise quarterback. And then something else turns out to be true. My point is we don't know when the days of our lives soap opera is going to spit out the truth on us. And I just feel like, I don't know what it is. If there is a beef, I think Brandon Graham isn't a BSer, but he sure BS'd his way out of it, talking about what he talked about an hour and a half later and turned that BS button on.
Yeah, right? He got called from the Eagles. And Brandon Graham never rocks the boat. Him and Jason Kelsey have been guys that have always been pro team guys. That's who they've been, right? He got a call from the PR team. He got a call from coach. He went on a whole apology tour afterwards because he's been one of the most beloved Eagles of all time. And he's just never been that guy, right? What he said has truth to it, Godfrey. There's a personal issue between these two guys.
Well, he says it's personal, but I think I think it could be. The only thing I can surmise it could be, if it is something, is maybe AJ Brown said that Jalen Hurts, you don't hit me on these passes when I'm open because you can't make these passes. And then Jalen's mad about that because they, like I said, if they won this game by a large margin last week, this conversation's it's not as noisy. But the problem is they are running the ball more this year, and they're getting less opportunities at receiver. And when he's missing these wide open receivers or missing these throws when they are open, they're frustrated because their opportunities are going to be few and far between. So I don't know. The personal thing, be like, listen, you can't hit me when I'm open, and he might have said that in a public forum, and maybe Jalen hasn't forgiven him for it.
Guys, we have to remember that this is the age of social media. I mean, that's the difference between Donovan McNabb and T.O. back 20 years ago, guys. This is the age of social media. And you got a young, brash athlete, talented athlete like A.J. Brown, who hears guys like us and guys in the mainstream media talk about his lack of credibility, his lack of accountability, his lack
He'll call up the radio station. He's done it in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
He'll call up
his lack of progress on the field. Who is he going to throw the blame at? He's not throwing the blame at Brandon Graham. If I'm AJ Brown, I'm going straight to the source. I'm throwing the blame at Jalen Hurts. It's not right, but that's what young, brash, hot-headed young athletes do. They're going to go throw the blame there.
Chase, Brett, Kyle. I know I showed this on Birds Deep, but I want to show this play again to you guys, and I want you guys to just look at 11. You guys see that on your screen? I want you to look at 11, okay? I want you to look at 11. He's right at the bottom of your screen, and I want you to see what this design play is to do. 81 is trying to rub A.J. Brown open. I want you to watch this play and tell me what you see.
Wide open A.J. Brown.
Now, I don't understand what the quarterback could be looking on a rub play right here. I want to pause it right there. What are you looking at? Look where his eyes are. What are you looking at? Why would you not throw this football? Look at this. You'll never find a receiver with more separation in the red zone than this.
Yeah, I think he was already locked on Smith. I mean,
How? Look at that right there. Look at this right here. How is he locked on? Devontae Smith is the corner route. How is he locked on Smith here? What are you looking at?
I feel like he's looking dead at him, and he's looking, and he throws it right to him.
I agree, Gene. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, man. I mean, you literally paused it, and while Godfrey's telling you he's looking at Wanda, number 11 is standing in the way. Like, he couldn't be looking at anybody else but number 11. I mean, but
I think the personal problem is so deep that he is legitimately not throwing him the football because they're mad at each other. Like, AJ's like, throw me the effing ball. And then Jalen's like, all right, I won't. I'll just look at you. And they keep calling plays to get Jalen to throw the ball to AJ, and he won't. So when AJ gets asked after the game, what's the problem? And he goes, passing. He didn't say the offense. He didn't say the line, the protection. He didn't say passing offense. He said passing. One word.
So, I mean, we've all worked with someone where they may be right, and the way they say it to us, we're like, yeah, F him, I'm not doing that, right?
1,000%.
And
1,000%.
if AJ Brown is cooking him and disrespecting him in front of the team, then that could be what it is. I mean, I'm speculating here. Like, I don't know that to be a fact, but should that happen that way? No. Could it? Possibly. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, maybe AJ's mad about that. I can understand him being mad about that, but if they're rubbing each other that way, and
for receivers that get incentives in their contract, that's a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. But there's two receivers. I mean, listen.
No, that play is called and designed for 11. 11 is open. He didn't throw the ball. Kyle, am I wrong?
But it's like, if it's this deep, like how are we supposed to function if my star wide receiver and my quarterback can't see eye to eye? I can't call plays for him because he doesn't want to throw to him. Well, why am I keeping both of them?
Which is why.
And if we talk about that, if we bring that up, if it's more than just an issue of AJ Brown being, young, arrogant, hard-headed, if it's deeper than that, then we have to look at the sole issue, and the sole issue is the leadership of the team, and that's the head coach and the general manager.
100%. Well, head coach.
Yeah.
General manager can put the players there. The head coach has one job. Yeah. Kellen Moore's job is the offense. Vic Fangio's job is the defense. Howie Roseman's job is to put the players there. Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Do you think the Philadelphia Eagles offense is schemed properly? Just scheme. I'm not talking about plays. Yes. Do you think the defense is schemed properly?
Well, hold on. Are we going to say that the offense is schemed correctly if AJ Brown is not getting the ball and he's publicly calling people out?
That's execution. That's not scheme. That's execution.
No, I agreed. I revert.
So defense is that the defense schemed properly? The answer is yes. Is the team talented enough to win?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's the GM. So Nick Sirianni has one job. It's just no job, just chemistry.
What's he supposed to do? Put him in a corner and make a timeout? They're not going to.
I would lock them in the goddamn office and make them fight.
Well, guess what? That ain't going to happen.
Fight over there until you guys figure this shit out. Because I've never heard Peyton Manning have an issue with Marvin Harrison. I never heard of it.
Well, that's because Peyton Manning carried him to the Hall of Fame. I mean,
not just a Peyton Manning thing, but I mean, like, you look at other organizations, there's not issues, like, there is not public issues out there. When there's public issues with players, one of two things happens. Either the owner and the general manager come in and make personnel changes, or the player gets released or traded. I mean, you don't see stuff like that with, you didn't see stuff like that in New England. That was a zero tolerance policy. You didn't have a wide receiver get on the microphone in New England and then Belichick be like, yeah, we're going to let this continue on for a few more weeks.
Chase,
No,
did
like
the Chiefs offense look good this year?
No.
How many times has Travis Kelce went in the media and trashed Patrick Mahomes?
The zero. That's what I
Okay,
mean. It's a culture issue.
But they
I mean,
got
if
3
it's-
Super
if it's
Bowls under their belt.
continuing-
I mean, you know,
I
mean,
know. The Chiefs were. That's why I didn't use the Chiefs. The Chiefs were a bad example.
I use the Chiefs.
But I mean, you use you talk about teams that have a little bit more structure with the head coach and the personnel that they have in the front office. That stuff doesn't happen. And I like Nick Sirianni's passion. I really do. But I don't know. I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles guy. I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Like, I don't know their front office like y'all do. But I mean, that's why I would ask you all, what if you had to look at a situation like that to go, hey, this is a culture issue, or this could turn into a culture issue. It's just one guy right now. They don't have a bunch of guys running around making comments like that and causing a bunch of ruckus in the media. But if this is looking like it's becoming a culture issue, what do you do?
A culture issue.
If they fall apart again this year, they have to make changes in the offseason.
They will.
But we can't spend the whole show on the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm going to move on quickly.
I want to highlight one more thing before we leave. Jory's comment. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying. When Mike Vrabel had AJ Brown, you didn't have, like, his behavior was minimum. You didn't have him sitting here telling the media, "Oh, it's because the quarterback's not throwing me the ball." Or
that's because his star wasn't. He didn't hit ceiling yet in Tennessee. So he's become a bigger star when he got here because of the first season he had. He didn't have seasons like that in Tennessee. I'm sorry, Jory. They weren't passing like that. They weren't moving the ball like that. They didn't get to a Super Bowl. He's a bigger star here than he was ever in Tennessee. And I know when they made that trade, people were like, "Oh, AJ's not top 10." Now you would argue that he is, right? As far as a receiver. So to me, yeah, he kept him in line, but to what extent? He was coming in as a second round rookie and second round pick, and and he had a great rookie season, but people were like, he can't stay on the field. That's what they would say. Get injured.
And we have to look in the mirror as sports media, like, not just us, but everybody else. Like, we put it on those guys. When the Philadelphia Eagles are struggling, we go, hey, what is going on? What happened to the Jalen Hurts that took that team to the Super Bowl? Why isn't AJ Brown performing like a top tier wide receiver?
I'm going to.
You mean Philadelphia fans be prisoners of the moment that happens?
But I'm going to transition this into something that just happened in the NFL world. That is the same exact thing. Deebo Samuel went on social media on Sunday night and Monday saying, "I'm not having a problem. I'm open. I'm just not getting the football." Did you guys see this?
And you know what Brock Purdy did? He's like, I would give it the ball to him every time if I could.
That's the point that I'm going to make.
But Deebo's playing slower than he did last year. When I watch him
not
on film,
the point I want to make. I want to make the point. Brock Purdy. This is the headline. I absolutely love Deebo Samuel. I want to give him the ball every time. Deebo and I talk all the time. He's like one of my best friends on this team. I absolutely love Deebo and what he's done for me and helping me out. We talk all the time, and yeah, I think he's right. He's doing great right now with what we ask of him in the offense, and he's not struggling or anything. It's just like I said before about guys like Ricky or last year Ayuk for a little bit. There's moments, I guess, throughout seasons where guys just don't get the ball, just depending on scheme and what the defensive scheme is and taking guys away. So I want Deebo to get the ball on every play if I could. That is a far cry of a different response than what AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, Devontae Smith said.
So Brock Purdy also hasn't
AJ Brown was, yeah, we're cool. We're cool.
Purdy hasn't gotten paid yet. So he's got to kiss a little ass.
Oh, come on. But see, instead of just saying that was handled a lot better, sometimes you got to look. Anybody here? Listen, I'll be very honest. Sorry to anyone's listening. I've out-kicked my coverage in multiple relationships. I've dated divas that look way better than I should be dating. This is 100%. This is factual. If you've ever dated a diva, there's sometimes you got to feed the ego. You ever been there? You ever been there? Well, listen, Brock Purdy's dating a diva. Jalen Hurts is dating a diva. One of them's doing a lot better job of feeding the ego.
Yeah, well, that's why I think you're at a standstill. I mean, who has to feed who here? You know what I mean?
No, Jalen is not the diva. The quarterback can't be the diva. The quarterback's the guy. He's got the money. He's paying for dinner. I'm not trying to make it that way, but that's the truth. The quarterback's the guy. I'm going to take you out to dinner, baby. I'm going to buy you a ring. He buys all the offensive lineman Rolexes for Christmas. That's what the quarterback does. He's not the diva.
I feel like A.J. Brown gave the obvious answer, though.
You guys need to respect. That shit was great.
Passing.
That was beautiful.
Passing, we both agree, was a problem for A.J. Brown last game. And not A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. And A.J. Brown said they need to improve on the passing game.
They threw 108 yards versus the Carolina Panthers. 108, Kyle, 108 yards.
I mean, that sounds like Jacoby Brissett early in the year. I mean, I've seen that, Well, yeah, that's not what you're expecting when you're watching the Eagles. Yeah.
No matter if they threw for 108 yards or they threw for 3,000 yards, a team, you don't go out in the media and say those things.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, Jalen Hurts could have thrown 10 interceptions in that game, and A.J. Brown has no business going to the media and going, it's passing. They're at fault.
I agree with that. Guys, lot of things that are happening around the NFL, and if we have Chase on here, and I hope he gets on here more often, I really miss talking to you. But one of the things going around the NFL is how the Kansas City Chiefs continue to win football games. This was Doinkgate. I feel like every other week we're watching the Kansas City Chiefs blocked field goal, tippy toe on the line.
If you watch KC
Wolf, PI.
Yeah, if you watch really close, KC Wolf, the mascot for the Kansas City Chiefs, took that field goal pole and pulled it to where it doinked and banked in. So
you got the weird call versus the Raiders. You got the tippy toe on the line for Isaiah Likely. You got the properly called PI versus Cincinnati, which we all talked about afterwards. We all talked about that. We have the improperly called PI. Look, there's a lot of games this year you can point to one thing or the other, but I'll tell you what, they keep finding ways to win football games. And at the end of the year, when you get into the playoffs, they don't go, hey, you didn't win these ones very comfortable.
In 15, 20 years, you all will forget the botched snap against Oakland. You'll forget the tippy toe. You'll forget the PI calls. And all that will matter is who won in the playoffs and whose name is marked on Wikipedia as winning the Super Bowl that year. Maybe it's the Kansas City Chiefs this year. I don't know. But
the Kansas City Chiefs are the first time in NFL history won back-to-back games by the exact score of 1917. Never happened before.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
Man, listen, God's a front runner. He switched teams this year. What can I say? I mean, I listen, I don't buy it. They're winning. I'm watching it. And sometimes, things just go your way. And, I'm more annoyed by people saying like, oh, the calls are going to the Chiefs. It's fixed. I hate that shit. And, if you're going to beat them. And you got to go in swinging to take the champs out, right?
Well, that's exactly the right take, Godfrey. I'll tell you what, their one loss was versus who? The Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills, instead of kicking the field goal to go up 5 points, they said, nope, we're not doing that shit. We're going to go for it on fourth down, and we're going to win the football game. We're not going to allow the officials. We are not going to allow Patrick Mahomes the ball. We're not going to allow this to happen again.
And no disrespect, Gene. No disrespect at all. So please don't take it this way. But I love how you and everybody else I've heard has broken that down. Like the Buffalo Bills have figured out the formula to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations. Congratulations, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. You beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season. I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but the Buffalo Bills happened to beat us in the regular season quite a bit.
Yep. My point was not that they figured out the formula to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It was, I'm not going to allow this game to come down to a final kick or a final play, I'm going to go for the throat. And when you're playing, and look, I'll go back. You want me to bring it back to the Philadelphia Eagles? I'll bring it back to the Philadelphia Eagles. Look at the Super Bowl they won. Philly. I'm not trying to. That was crazy. 4th and goal from the 2. You got to take the field goal, right? No, we're going for it. We know we're going against Brady and Belichick. We have to go for the jugular.
Yeah.
There's like 3 pictures of that play in my living room, like 3 separate pictures.
There was 13 seconds left in that divisional playoff game. 13 seconds left. Nobody and their mom thought that was going to happen.
Nope.
Nobody in the I was in the building that night. I was on the end zone. Or I was on the end zone end when Travis Kelce caught the touchdown pass in overtime and won the game.
I love that comment.
Nobody around me or in that arena that night in Arrowhead Stadium thought that was going to happen. Nobody. There was people leaving to the parking lot when there was 13 seconds left.
I love it. It was
Pull Dan Campbell to beat the Chiefs. I want to address that.
Hold on, Godfrey. I'm going to lead into that. I'm going to lead right into that if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm going to start a debate with you involved.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Dan Campbell, because it was a perfect lead in, and I'm going to use that to lead right into something. Last week, Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions went for it on multiple 4th downs last week, and including a 4th and 1 with the game tied to to not give the ball back to Green Bay and kick the game-winning field goal. They went for a 4th and 1. Jared Goff actually falls down on the play. Still gets the ball handed off to the running back. The running back gets the first down. They kick a field goal with no time left. They win the football game. Dan Campbell is being praised all throughout ESPN, through anybody that watches football anywhere. Big Balls Dan and the Legion of Whom talking about their defense because there's so many injuries on it. I want to ask a question. Chase, what are your thoughts on Dan Campbell as a coach?
I love how passionate he is. I mean, obviously, some of those choices that he makes, we all can look at and criticize and be like, I don't know if I'd have done that. But guess what? He made it. He did it. So he looks like a genius. Of course, if those plays don't work, if he goes for it on 4th down and the game's tied and he loses, everybody, especially the city of Detroit, is coming for his throat.
But Godfrey on the show last week had this comment that he thinks that Nick Sirianni is just as good a coach, if not better, than Dan Campbell. I'd like to hear.
Well, I think they're on an even playing field, and I do think we're a prisoner of the moment. Has Dan Campbell gotten to a Super Bowl? He had his first winning season last year. Nick Sirianni has a winning record on the road, multiple winning seasons, made the playoffs every season as a coach. Here in Philly, we discredit him because I keep using this phrase, we are a prisoner of the moment. And anybody around the league will see that, and I'm like, I would like that. Would the Jets like that? Would the Cleveland Browns like a record like that? And when I look at Dan Campbell, he made that move and won, but it could have backfired on him because he went for it on his own 30, and they did score off of that. So that he got lucky there. You do that against the Chiefs, you do that against the Bills, and I guarantee you they're going to capitalize on it. You can't put the ball in the hand of a Mahomes or a Allen. You might get away with that putting in the hand of a Jordan Love and get away with that. I'm going to tell you right now, he made a questionable call in the NFC Championship game. If he did that last year and he was the coach of the Eagles, we would fry him. We would be on his ass every day of the week until the next season, until we got to a Super Bowl again. And he made some bad decisions in that 49ers game. Yeah, he went for it, but you got to know when. There's a season to the reason. And you got to have good timing. And sometimes people are off. Sometimes they're on. Sean Payton was a genius for doing the onside kick. But if that went the other way, it'd be like, why are you giving the ball to Peyton Manning on a short field? And sometimes you got to gamble to win. You have Philly special. Doug Peterson made it. They won. Even the legendary Merrill Reese was like, I really think we should be going for the field goal here, including myself. And sometimes it will backfire on you. So I like a gambler, but they both aren't running the offense really, right? He's not designing the play, and he was convinced to do that play by Jared Goff, who almost did a Jared Goof and fell and cost him that, but they didn't, and it worked out. So he wasn't going to do it, actually. He was going to go the other route, and Jared Goff was like, I really want to go for it. You can see it on film, and he's like, all right, let's go for it. He told him to go for it upstairs. I mean, I'm just going by track record.
A lot like
I have
Philly, huh?
Yeah, say what?
Sounds a lot like Philly, huh?
Yeah, but I have a longer track record of success with Sirianni. Until one wins a Super Bowl, I'm not putting him over him. This would be his second winning season.
Brett, tell him why he's wrong.
I thought that I know everybody hated that call. I mean, a lot of people were, they love the call now, but they were hating on it at the time. But when it was going on, when they were
2020 vision on that call. A lot of people were hating on that call.
No, well, like when it was happening, they're like, "Are they going to snap this ball?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." And I think even at the time, it was the right call. Jordan Love was getting hot. He was carving up that defense. You put the ball in his hands, only needing a field goal. He's going to get that and more. I guarantee that's probably the next move. So what Dan Campbell did is he iced the game. He won the game, and I get it. If he doesn't get it, well, then we're having a different conversation, right? But even if he got it, didn't get it, doesn't matter. I respect the decision-making of Dan Campbell, and I think right there in that moment, it was the right call. And I think as of right now, I would say that he's a better coach than Nick Sirianni.
That goes back to week 2, Kyle. Remember when the Eagles were playing the Falcons and we discussed at length the throw to Saquon Barkley when he was wide open in the flat? And I said, that's absolutely the right call because there's a 95% chance he catches that football. And if he does, the game's over. So that's what you're doing. You ran over your future Hall of Fame right tackle and Penei Sewell for a first down to ice the game. Kyle, your thoughts on Dan Campbell as a head coach? Does Godfrey have a point that Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell are on the same level?
I mean, if you think about it and you ask somebody like Dan Campbell or Sirianni, I think I would probably join the group that says I would take Dan Campbell. That's not to take away from Sirianni because I know Sirianni's been kind of in the spotlight the past couple of seasons, but it's hard to argue with what he's accomplished in Philly. Now, some of the antics, like this year with the thing going back at the fans, I feel like really hurt him to the point where I think some people are kind of done with him. But with Dan Campbell, like he stays true to who he is. Like Ron Rivera was the same way with Riverboat Ron. They call him that for a reason. With every risk, there's always going to be that, well, if he makes it, good, but if he doesn't, whatever. And he sticks to it, and the team seems to follow suit with him. Like we see Ben Johnson come up with real aggressive calls. Like we see how aggressive they just are offensively with Montgomery and Gibbs and all. Like they've taken on his personality. So I think for all that Detroit's gone through and what Campbell's kind of transformed them into, he probably has a little more leeway than Sirianni might at this point.
So, Sirianni plays in Philadelphia. The bar's lower in Detroit.
I was really waiting. I was waiting for one of you guys to bring this up, but I'll bring it up since you didn't. You know the difference between Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni? Dan Campbell never had a team quit on him. Never had.
When did the Eagles quit on him?
Last year, down the stretch. If you don't think that team quit on them down the stretch, I don't know what you're watching. There's a reason
that game was pretty brutal to watch.
All right, so you could say they quit on him, then acknowledge that they came to his aid and played for him after the fan incident because they reeled off about how many wins straight. Did they quit on him then, or did they play for him?
They have 9 wins straight.
Did they quit on him or play for him when he was under fire?
I think this year they've played for him. But my question, Dan Campbell, they play for him every week. Nick Sirianni had a full team quit on him.
Nick Sirianni's never been through a 15-loss season. I mean, he's 22-9 on the
roster.
He's on 22-9 on the road. That roster wasn't that great when he came in.
He's never had a 15-loss roster.
Right.
This is hard. I mean, this is a hard conversation to have. I mean, just because, like I said, Dan Campbell looks like a hero right now. Don't get me wrong. I love how passionate Dan Campbell is, and I love how much of a player's coach he is. But Nick Sirianni is just as much of a player's coach as Dan Campbell is. I mean, Godfrey's right. I mean, a lot of people around the NFL didn't like Sirianni when Sirianni was, jaw-jacking at the fans. And the team was like, yo, that's our coach. And like, the reality is, like, the sky is blue. The sun is going to rise every day. And if Dan Campbell's, if that fumble, like when Jared Goff fumbled it, if that goes the other way, Dan Campbell is a moron. Dan Campbell is getting fired. If some of those calls that Dan Campbell has made, if they go the other way, he's an idiot. He's a horrible head coach. He's a moron. But like Steve Chambers just said, because those calls didn't go that way, because he got lucky. Because let's face the facts. Like Jared Goff fumbled that. That was luck that he picked that up. Any other NFL quarterback that did that might not have made that play.
Yeah,
They'd
and
have
the
got
bar's
blown up
lower.
in their backfield. But like Steve Chambers just said, because those worked out for Dan Campbell, because Dan Campbell got lucky, because he gambled, Dan Campbell's looking to be in the NFC Coach of the Year, the NFL Coach of the Year.
And he deserves it.
Hard. Yeah, I mean, I get it, but that has to be brought up. We have to talk about, like, yo, if those lucky little things that he does, that careless attitude that he has of going forward on fourth down and doing these things, if they don't work out in his favor, he's out.
We're bipolar in Philly. We had Andy Reid, which for years, and he used to be like, I have to put them in better position to win. Time's yours. He doesn't give us enough. He's not emotional. He doesn't. Then we get a guy that gives us emotion, and like, oh, he gives us too emotion. He's too player friendly. Oh my God,
Dan Campbell is the favorite for Coach of the Year. I disagree with that. I want to get everyone's take on Coach of the Year. Then we got to break down 2 quick games before we get into tonight's game. We only have 13 minutes left, guys. So let's just get everyone's take for Coach of the Year. I'm going to start with Kyle. Kyle, who is your Coach of the Year this year?
I might have to go with Tomlin. I feel like what they've done in Pittsburgh, the quarterback change in the middle of the season, how that's worked out for them. They're one of the top seeds in the AFC. It'd be hard not to give it to them.
Okay. Where are you at, Guardy 3?
There we go. You know what? I'm gonna stick in the NFC North. I think Mike Tomlin's a good one, but give me Kevin O'Connell. This is a guy who took a Vikings team that was projected to be dead last by most in the NFC North. They're 11-2 in second, and at this point, almost guaranteed a playoff spot. So, give me Kevin O'Connell.
I like that one. Godfrey, who's your Coach of the Year?
Jim Harbaugh.
I love that.
That team had cap problems. He came in right away, and they're going to make the playoffs this year. Okay, that's a 7 seed. They're in a tough division because the Chiefs are in there, and he played them tough. They don't really have enough firepower right now to beat that team, but he's getting maximum potential out of that team. I wish he would stop running his running backs like they're in college still, but that's another story. Other than that, I think he's Coach of the Year.
Chase, who's your Coach of the Year?
Call me boring, man. I'm going with Mike Tomlin.
I don't think it's boring. I think Mike Tomlin's a great pick. I think one guy that a lot of people aren't mentioning, and listen, guys, I'm on the same realm as you guys are. I think Kevin O'Connell's a great pick. The Vikings are 11-2. The reason I don't give him the nod is because I give Brian Flores almost as much credit as I give Kevin O'Connell. But another guy that's not getting mentioned, and he should be, is Sean Payton. You look at what happened with Jim Harbaugh and for Los Angeles. Do you know the difference between Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton is? One's got a rookie quarterback. They both have the same record. What he's done with Bo Nix, the development of Bo Nix this year, and them being 8-5, that having that defense, I'll tell you right now, you got to really look at Sean Payton and look at the Denver Broncos and what they're doing. Yeah, I'm not saying he's going to win it. I just think that we mentioned everyone else outside of him, but what he's doing in Denver just needs to be looked at.
I think you're right. I'm going to, however, give him the Barry Bonds tax because he's a dick.
He's a dick. Absolutely.
I don't want him to win shit. Okay. So I'm going to give him the Barry Bonds treatment. And if I was a sports writer, I'd be like, no, I'm not voting for you just because you're a cock. So that's what I would do. Well, don't put me on the AP.
We have 2 absolute bangers this week as far as football games. And this is Sunday. We're going to go over them quickly before we get into tonight's game. But I just need your quick synopsis of what you think happens. This is the appetizer. Pittsburgh Steelers at the Philadelphia Eagles, battle for PA, 10-3 out of 11-2. I'll start with Chase.
I'm sorry, brother. You cut out.
I'll start with you, brother. Steelers at Eagles.
Oh, I'll go Steelers just because the flux with the offense and the Eagles right now.
That's fair. Steve Chambers in the chat. Steelers with the upset. Me and Godfrey already gave our picks on Birds Deep. Guardy 3, who do you like in this game?
You know what? I'll take the Steelers too, and kind of the same as Chase. I think there's just some issues going on with the Eagles, and Tomlin has the Steelers running like a well-oiled machine. So give me the Steelers in a close game.
I like that. Kyle.
I'm gonna have to keep it going. I like the Steelers in this one as well. I just like the way that they're playing. I like the confidence in Russ, and I just think that right now they're in a better position to probably take this one. So I'll go the Steelers.
I have one response to all three of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I think about your picks.
I love that they're all on the Steelers, including Steve Chambers. I think this is a big bounce back week for the Eagles. I think A.J. Brown has a good game. I think they really forced the ball to him. So I'm going Philadelphia in that one. So is Godfrey. Godfrey, starting with you. The main event of the evening. Buffalo Bills coming off a 44-42 loss, going into Detroit to take on the Detroit Lions with extended rest. Lions at home versus Buffalo Bills. Who you got?
Man, if the Bills pulled that one off last week, I might go the other way here, but I'm going to go Buffalo. I think nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And I think they're going to have their bounce back week. You know, they lost a tough one. And, you know, both those teams really have defenses that have to play from ahead right now because of the injuries to Detroit and Design and Buffalo. And I think you can definitely score on Detroit. I think Josh Allen's going to give them fits. So,
Guardy 3, divisional game for you. Who do you like in this one?
I like the Bills, and my big reasoning is also I think the Lions defense is a little too depleted for Buffalo, and they're coming off an emotional victory, you know, against Green Bay. So you know what? Give me Buffalo in a shootout.
Those butt cheeks are going to be a little bit tighter with Dan Campbell. I bet you he doesn't go for it on his own 30 with Josh Allen behind the ball.
Chase.
I'm going the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kyle.
I think the Detroit Lions have better weapons. I like that they're going to be out there taking chances. That's Dan Campbell. Like, he's going to take the chances, and I like the way that the Lions offense meshes up against that Buffalo Bills defense better.
I love it. Kyle.
I got the Lions as well. I think the Lions will establish the run now. If Buffalo can stop that two-headed monster with Montgomery and Gibbs, they have a better shot. But I think that the Lions will execute that. Long drives will beat Buffalo in this one. So I'll take Detroit.
I'll say this. I think the path to victory is there for both teams. But I think that with Matt Milano back with the Buffalo Bills, I think that Ed Oliver, I think they do a great job of stuffing the run. And if for Detroit to win this football game, they're actually going to have to do it just the way the Rams did, and it's through the air. I don't know if Jared Goff can sling the rock like Matthew Stafford can. I'm going to go with my man Godfrey, and this might be selfish. It might be me being a homer, but no one quite circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills. I'll take the Bills in that one. We got a football game tonight. This is division implications. Rams coming off a huge win over the Buffalo Bills at home. They're traveling to San Francisco to take on a pretty beat-up 49ers team. 49ers coming off an absolute beatdown over the Chicago Bears last week. This is a fun game for Thursday Night Football. I love games like this. Isaac Guerrero looks like he'll be starting tonight for the San Francisco 49ers. You still got Jawan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle for the 49ers. You got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and Matthew Stafford for the Rams. The game is in Frisco. Who do you guys like in this football game tonight? Chase, start with you, brother.
I like the Rams. I think that the Rams get it done. I have them winning by 7. I don't have them winning by 10. But I like the Rams a lot in this one.
Kyle, who you with this one?
I feel like all signs point to the Rams in this one. I've been wanting to count the Niners out for weeks in this division, and they keep hanging around.
Years.
I think the Niners find a way and get it done tonight. I would not be surprised if Jawan Jennings has a big game tonight.
Okay. Guardy 3.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the Rams. I think that the defense is stout enough that they're gonna slow down the run, and this has been an offense that's struggling, and the Rams right now are clicking on all cylinders. And so, yeah, give me the Rams and give me the Rams by 7.
Godfrey.
I'm taking the Rams to beat this. There's one key factor here that's missing on the San Francisco offense, and it's often overlooked. It's called Trent Williams, right? They're going to be able to get after Brock Purdy, move him off his spot. I think Deebo Samuel is declining physically. That's why he's not getting the ball, and it's not being talked about. I think they could run the ball against the Rams. However, I think that the Rams could also run the ball against them. You could run on the 49ers, and Stafford can sling the rock. I think Cooper Kupp has a big game, and I think the Rams win. I think they're surging versus the 49ers are on the verge of imploding.
So throughout their careers, Kyle Shanahan, especially since 2019, has absolutely had the upper hand over Sean McVay. Outside of the dropped Diamadero Lenore interception that would have ended the NFC Championship game in 2022, the 49ers had won 9 straight football games in the regular season versus the Rams up until 2024. January, the last week of the season last year, the Rams beat the 49ers 21-20. Now, that game didn't matter. It was Carson Wentz versus Sam Darnold. Who cares? It was a backup quarterback game. Well, this year, earlier in the season, the Rams finally got off the schneid versus the 49ers starters, 27-24. That's only the 3rd regular season victory for Sean McVay over Kyle Shanahan. I think this game being in Frisco tonight with Drake Greenlaw being back, I think the 49ers defense is just too much. I like the 49ers in this one. Big game for Juwan Jennings. George Kittle is going to go run wild. I think the big thing is it looks like Nick Bosa is going to play. And that Rams defense can get after the quarterback, but so can that 49ers defense. And that defense looked great last week versus the Chicago Bears. I'll take the 49ers in this football game. I think it's going to be a little bit more low scoring than you're used to. 23-20, 49ers. I think it's a close football game. Great NFC West battle. Guys, we got about a couple minutes left. I would love to hear and I'm going to start using this as sideline to sideline, any sound off of any topic that you want to give your opinion on to end the show. Kyle, I'm going to start with you. Actually, you know what? I'll start to give you guys all a second because I just threw it on you guys. I mean this when I say it, and I say this when I mean it. 1, Brian Flores needs a head coaching job in the NFL. The Minnesota Vikings are one of the most disrespected 11-2 teams I've ever seen in my life. They are at 1 game out of being the number 1 seed in the NFC, and they're doing it with nobodies. We talk about the Legion of Who for the Detroit Lions. Man, there's not a lot of good players in that Minnesota Vikings defense, but yet they all come to play for Brian Flores. They picked off Kirk Cousins last week three times in a 42-21 win. Sam Darnold starting to look like a quarterback that was drafted in the top 10 of the NFL draft. Let's give the Minnesota Vikings a little credit. Kyle?
Yeah, I guess kind of along the same lines, because I think a lot of these teams that are looking at, first-year coaches and a lot of this noise about replacing them already, I think some fans need to, chill, because, I'm dealing with it with Gerard Mayo. I got Patriots fans wanting him out the door already. If the team wasn't good with Bill Belichick, how's Gerard Mayo supposed to turn it around in 1 season? Patience needs to be at the forefront with some of these squads out there. I know, because Steve brought up Mike Vrabel. You're going to hear Vrabel's name all over the place. But some of these first-year coaches have to be given a chance to show you whether or not they can actually do the job. I mean, I can't evaluate somebody 13, 14 games into their first season and automatically write them off when I know the roster just isn't good enough. So give them an off season, give them a couple of drafts. If they can't turn around, then I'm open to that conversation. Until then, chill out with the Gerard Mayo's got to go stuff.
Love it. Guardy 3.
You know what? Yeah, I'll stick with my own team too. Starting to get a little tired. We're still talking about well, the Packers will go as far as Jordan Love's turnover issues takes him. I don't think a lot of people realize that Jordan Love hasn't thrown an interception in a month, and we're still talking like it's some major problem. I get it, how the NFC champion or the game against the Niners ended last year, and how this season started, but let's put a little more respect on Jordan Love's name, talking about some major turnover issue when he's not even top 5 in turnovers. And guess what? He hasn't thrown one in a month. Patrick Mahomes he's the best quarterback in the league, but he has thrown a lot more turnovers than Jordan Love. Why isn't this a bigger issue with some other quarterbacks? I don't get it. So let's put some more love on Jordan Love's name, some respect.
Okay. Godfrey.
I'm going to talk about a team that probably doesn't get a lot of coverage because they have a fair weather sports town, the Atlanta Falcons. Okay. Listen, their GM stinks. That organization has no excuse. You draft a quarterback in the top 10. You sign a quarterback for a lot of money in the offseason. You draft a tight end at number 8. That you can't miss on. Kyle Pitts, there's no excuse this year. He is officially a bust. I'm going to say it. You can say he looks impressive, runs like, runs like Tarzan, swings like Jane, whatever you want to call it. And all I know is the Atlanta Falcons, with the talent they have on that team in certain positions, they should not be in the position they're in. I'll say, listen, probably unpopular opinion. I know it's Raheem Morris's first year, but I've seen him coach before. He's coaching again. He seems confused on where he wants to go, and the organization seems confused on what they want to do. That was a panic pick, and if you're a GM and you make a panic pick in the top 10, you need to go. So you got Kyle Pitts in 21. You got Michael Penix, who knows, might not even be that great of NFL QB to begin with, so you can't miss on that either. And you got Kirk Cousins that's looking like Father Time caught him. So, I don't know. That GM stinks, and that organization's in bigger trouble than people realize.
Coming off a massive Achilles injury. And Chase, obviously being a guest this week, you haven't been on here recently, and would love to have you back anytime. Love to have you be a regular again. I wanted to give you the final thought tonight. Give any soliloquy that you want. I seen your little picture that you put up on Facebook where you are here talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. You got the floor, whatever you want.
Yeah, man. Here's what I would say, because I don't want to make it just Kansas City Chiefs like centered. But what I will say is shut up and enjoy football. Listen, you ain't an expert. You're not. You're not. You are average Joe sitting at home watching football. And I'm not talking to anybody on this panel. I'm talking to you watching this show. And I'm talking to anybody who's going to watch the replay of the show. You're not an expert. Shut up and just watch the game. You don't know the rules. You don't know the penalties. You can't screen grab one play and go, oh my God, the refs didn't call this. They're letting them cheat. It's rigged. If you want every penalty in every single game called, there's 153 plays on average in a football game. If you want them to call every single penalty down the middle, then let's have the booth review all 153 plays. And then you tell me how fun football is after that. Until then, shut up, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
Listen, I'm looking forward to some good football tonight, some good football this week. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It is 8:13 on the dot. We're going to sign out so you guys can watch some Amazon Prime football. I'm the NFL Genius, Gene Walzak. That's Mr. CR Media, Chase. Taking it deep with the Godfrey. Not guarding the 2. He's guarding the 3. He's got N1 podcast tonight. And then in the upper left corner, chomping at the bit, Integrity Sports Zone, Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. And we are